Right on. So welcome and hello. Yeah, very pleased that everybody's here with us. And yeah, this is our Mold Masters virtual workshop. My name is Mark Taylor. I'm the town's senior landscape architect and project manager for this project. Tonight's session, I wanted to let you know that it is being recorded. If you're uncomfortable with it being recorded, please feel free just to leave your camera off. This is a space for sharing open information and respect. Respect for the fellow presenters, for attendees, and we're here to focus on skate park design. You'll notice also that your microphones are currently muted, but there will be opportunity for discussion and chat later in our program. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which many of us are viewing this from, as well as where the skate park is located, is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. In terms of councillors that are here in attendance tonight, I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Brown, Councillor Albano, Councillor Lawler, Councillor Fogel, and Councillor Johnson. Also Councillor Farrell-Reid. So through tonight's proceedings, we'll briefly review the findings of our survey and initial user response. We'll also look at concepts that New Line Skate Parks has developed. We'll be discussing those as separate groups, and then we'll have a question and answer period at the end. So our goal for this project is to replace the skate park at Mold Masters with a new modern skate park that meets the needs of the community, and we hope to have it open for next summer. So this is a visual plan of how we plan to get there. The town's carried out a request for proposal process for a specialist design build skate park company, which happened in July. We've hired New Line Skate Parks from that process and began public consultation with the online survey in mid-September through to October. After that, New Line was busy developing the concepts, which takes us here to tonight. So just stepping back and looking at our survey. So we had an extremely good response to the initial survey, and I'm very pleased to see a number of you here tonight that took part in that as well and continue to support this project. We had 212 responses, which is amazing. 153 of them identified themselves as living within Halton Hills. So who are these users? The age of the respondents was primarily between 11 and 30 years old. 128 of them were skateboarders, 28 BMX, 19 scooter, 11 were roller skaters or inline skaters, and 67 of them identified themselves as either parents or of a user or just generally interested. For us, these responses really identified that the people that were filling out this survey is our target audience, and we were getting really good feedback. The skill levels of these individuals is primarily intermediate and advanced level, and the frequency that they do the activity is lots. 55% of them said that they skate or use skate parks 3 or more times a week. This took us into the terrain preferences and what direction to take this skate park design for Mold Masters. Of the bowl and half pipe style terrain that was featured in the survey, a flow bowl or mini ramp were the top responses for favorite terrain. When it came to the plaza and street features, manual pads and ledges were by far the top pick, followed by sculptural elements and then flat bars and rails. Preference for obstacle street features was split, with 31% of respondents saying that fun boxes and A-frames were their favorite, and 27% chose banks, ramps, and hips. The final terrain question on the survey had to deal with pumping and carving terrain, and a snake run or moonscape organic flow were the top choices, closely followed by a pump track. In addition to the skate park terrain that we heard about, we heard loud and clear that you'd like lights for night skating, a water fountain with bottle filling, shade, washrooms, seating for both relaxing and also for spectators. So based on all these requests, it comes to an interesting challenge of how do we design a skate park that's going to meet all those needs? So with the design, we'll be removing the existing skate park to create a new community level skate park. The current size of the existing skate park is classified as neighborhood level. We're targeting this new park to be around twice as large as the existing skate park in terms of the footprint of it. And overall, it'll be slightly smaller than the Gellert Community Park. With that as a basis, I'll pass things over to New Line Skate Parks to discuss the site and the 3 concepts that they've developed.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you to everyone for participating in the meeting this evening. My name is Stefan Millette. I'm Senior Designer with New Line Skate Parks, and I'll be presenting the 3 options for the design this evening. To start, we're just going to hold on this sheet for a moment and just discuss a little bit about our design process. So in addition to creating unique and functional skatable terrain, one of our key design goals and objectives with any of these parks is to create a space that's well integrated into the surrounding landscape. So before any skate terrain is even considered, we need to analyze and understand our site context. So when we look at Mold Masters, the Mold Masters site here, what we first noticed and took account of was just the existing topography. So when we looked closely at our survey file, we noticed that there's a slight slope that exists from the south to the north of the site, and that is then captured by a swale that draws water around the existing park down to the west bottom left corner of this aerial photo. We also took note of the mature trees that are on site, and we would hope to preserve those in all 3 of the designs that we've prepared for this evening. We're also right off Guelph Street, so we have pretty impressive street frontage. So one of the keys of our site plan development was to create an access point off of Guelph Street in addition to off of the parking lot of the SportsPlex. From the survey, we also heard that there was a desire for bowl terrain. So we needed to understand how we could accommodate that design terrain typology. And what we found is that the existing park already connects to a catch basin on that bottom left corner of the site. So basically, we would be using that existing connection as our subsurface drainage tie-in, which would allow us to create that in-ground bowl feature. That was basically our main analysis of the site. We look at the design type or the topography, the drainage tie-in, the existing plant material, as well as our connections. I guess touching on that briefly, we also noticed that there's that existing crossing path that goes from Guelph Street up. That was something that we also wanted to maintain as a clear and direct thoroughfare from the street to the SportsPlex. As we understand it, the high school is to the west and seems to be an important pathway to maintain. So I guess if we jump right in from there into the options, we'll be able to explain these a little bit further. So I guess the first thing you'll notice, or as we go through this this presentation, what you'll notice is that all three options take on very different forms and offer different terrain features. We really wanted to use this meeting as an opportunity to spark discussion, and have you provide feedback on all of these design directions so that we can really dial it in and come up with the best option for your next skate park. So with this first option, we're considering this our flow bowl street plaza option. This option is a pretty good 50-50 split of those two terrain types. So if we start just with A, and honestly, if we want to just even go to the next slide where we have our visual aids, our inspiration and precedent, we can actually talk about it through this. So if we look at A, we have that represented as a shade structure. We understand that, you know, these facilities are pretty active and you know, tiring. It's a tiring sport, and so, you know, having an opportunity for seating and shade is obviously quite important. But the main purpose is obviously the terrains for us. So if we get into that, I guess we'll start with the bowl. So right now, tying into that existing storm or that existing storm service, we're able to create a 6-foot deep bowl in this option with a 2.5 foot raised deck. So in this option, we've created a 4-foot and 6-foot deep flow bowl. C is representing the shallow end of the bowl, which is a back and forth mini ramp, which then feeds you into the hips represented by D. Those are high-low hips from shallow to deep. One's a 90 hip, one's a 45 hip, offering different feels on both hips. From there, F is a waterfall that brings you from the shallow end to the deep end. And then our deep end, 6 feet deep, represented by E, is basically, you know, just a double pocketed deep end with a large radius wall that you would be able to, you know, stall or launch off of coming down from the waterfall. From there, we move into the street portion of the design. So in this option, we are able to create a consistent bank profile that runs along the entire length of the facility. That allowed us to build that grade up for the bowl and really maximize the depth of that bowl feature. So along the entire southern edge of the street course, we have a 2.5 foot tall bank. E, it wraps around, or sorry, G, it wraps around, continuing that bank profile. M, it actually blends into a transition profile. So that offers, you know, that little bit of difference between bank profile and transition profile, so that you can get a sense of, you know, rolling over coping as well as just rolling down a bank. H is a bank to barrier feature. We see that being hit probably coming off of feature K, which is our long slappy bank. So riders will be able to go from M, drop in, ride past the rail, up and onto K, redirect into the bank to barrier, which is H. Moving right from there, we've got our inset manual pad and bank to curb. And with L, just a simple flat bar, kind of basically maintaining all features that you would need in a skate park. Mark, if you just go back up one slide, in the first slide that we show, you'll notice that we have 3 points of access into the site, one off of the north, one off of the existing walkway to the east, and then one off of the existing sidewalk on Guelph Street. Off of that northeast access, we've actually created, you know, ledge walls. So those would both function as seating as well as creating a functional ledge for the design. So this option gives us everything that you would need as far as basic street elements. You've got your flat ledge, your flat bar, your manual pad, bank to curb, bank to barrier, and a long slappy bank. So that's option one, our flow bowl street option. This is option two. Again, different form. I see a fish when I look at this option, but this is our more expansive flow bowl option, where we've prioritized the bowl terrain and we've deprioritized the street terrain. So in this option, you'll notice that we have grades varying from 0 to 0.5 on the main deck slab around the bowl. With that, it allows, full accessibility around the entire design, and just clean riding throughout. What a compromise to that is it does restrict the depth that we have for the bowl. So in this option, we relied upon extensions to build up that depth. And so the main portions of this bowl are 4 feet deep, with 2 foot tall extensions building up to that 6 foot height. So in both of these first two options, we're really hoping to get that 4 to 6 foot depth range, just as a complement to what currently exists in Gellert and in Acton, where we have, obviously the pool bowl, the mini bowl, and then the Acton flow bowl. So with this option, if we look at the bowl specifically, it's pretty expansive, lots of options, multiple hips, multiple pockets. If we start at the bottom, we have an extension over a roller. I guess if we want to look at the next sheet, that might help to visualize some of these features. But yeah, so F is represented throughout this board. I think primarily we've identified it. Oh, haven't identified it. It can be seen in that photo on the bottom left, as well as the photo at the top left. So basically an extension with a roller bump that breaks the grade, and then that feeds into G, which is a spine. With that spine moving around into I, we have the spine blend down into a half pump bump, and then a pump roller feeding into a full pump bump that's within the middle of the bowl, offering tons of potential redirection opportunities, flow opportunities, speed generators, speed controllers, all throughout that feature set. From there, we have H, which represents our 3 hips, all of which are at the same elevation, but all offering, slightly different angles. So some slightly mellower than others, offering, that progression. Moving from that, we have feature C, which is our single pocket transition extension. That then feeds into D, which is our transition extension double pocket. So again, building that up, allowing for that height to exist not only in 1 pocket, but 2. So you'll be able to stay high through those pockets before feeding you into the hips. E is represented, so the majority of this bowl is transition profile, but E is our steep bank extension within the bowl, with transition on either side. So as you come over the pump bump or come over that hip on the top, you'll be redirected, into the transition that is beside that bank extension, allowing you to launch out of the transition into the bank. Similarly, coming out of that top C pocket, you'll be able to flow through the flat bottom and just skate that steep bank independently. So that's our main bowl. With this option, it's basically an 80-20 split of transition terrain versus street terrain, but we still wanted to highlight some street terrain. I think that's important in any design, is to offer that some balance and some opportunity for other user groups. So with that, we have our basic street elements in this design. K is representing a manual pad with a curved end, allowing you to hit it from different areas or different alignments. J is a simple flat ledge, L simple flat bar, and then M is kind of a unique descending turnaround slappy bank that is at the arrival. Like the first option, 3 points of arrival off the north parking lot, off of that crossing pathway, and then off of Guelph Street. In this option, all fully accessible. We've also represented an octagonal shade structure in this option, which overlooks the bowl as well as down into up towards the street course. So a nice little vantage point throughout the entire park.
I was going to say, Stefan, there could be a roll-in opportunity between D and E. Possible.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so that's option 2. I guess we'll move into option 3. So again, different form, slight departure from our previous 2 options. This is one option that doesn't include an enclosed bowl. Instead, it includes a spined mini ramp. So this is our obstacle street mini ramp option, basically. So first option was 50-50 split flow bowl street. Second option, expansive flow bowl, simple street course, 80-20. This is our obstacle street mini ramp spine option. I would probably go 60-40 obstacle terrain and 40%, transition mini ramp terrain. So with this option, we really wanted to create that V shape, really utilize the space that we had, create that length required to get those multiple hit features on the obstacle street side of the park. So I guess in this option, we'll start with that, and then we'll move to the mini ramp. So when you come in again off of the north and east, your first feature is a flat bar and a flat ledge. From there, you move over to H and I, which is a 2-foot tall bank with out rail, out ledge, as well as down ledge, down rail. From that feature, we have a 2 or a 3-foot quarter pipe with a 3-foot roll in. So an opportunity to redirect, end your run, or continue your run up, or even transfer into the mini ramp. Going back down, so once you redirect off of that feature C, coming back down the bank of I, you approach our A-frame feature, wedge to wedge with a rooftop ledge, and then that brings you to our turnaround bank feature on the right side. And that has a steep hip on the top side that could be skated. I would envision people skating it we would envision people skating it likely more so from top down than bottom up, just because it's sending you out of the site. But as an arrival, it's a cool little redirect into the skate park. So it's a steeper profile than the bank profile on the face of it. So from there, we get up to our 5-foot elevated platform on the left side. Again, there's a small redirecting quarter pipe, probably a tight transition on that one. From that, we enter into our mini ramp spine feature. It's pretty awesome to have space for a feature like this to really elongate that mini ramp, give that opportunity for a different feel than a traditional mini ramp, something that you would already have at Gellert. So this option, or this feature specifically, is a varying height spine. So on the top side, it's 4-foot quarter pipe drop in. On the right side, it's 4.5 feet. So you get a bit of a high-low spine and a little bit of a high-low roller bump. So that's represented E and F, roller bumps on either side of the spine, pretty expansive spine, probably 16 feet wide. So an opportunity to either just launch straight over or actually, cross the face and get a grind in before transferring down. And then on the low side, the 4.5-foot side, again, we have a nice long coping line and a nice 2-foot extension. So you get 6.5-foot height through feature G. I don't know if, I guess
Mark,
we'll
if-
stay, sorry.
Mark, if you flip to the next slide, there's a good photograph of what that whole complex looks like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so that's yeah, represented by photo E on the bottom left there. Pretty similar feature there, and then also the spine in image F at the bottom as well. But yeah, no, so this option, you know, again, slightly different idea. You know, it draws upon that obstacle street terrain, that idea of an open transition space versus an enclosed bowl. With this, if you go quickly back up to the top screen, I was just going to touch on that third entry. So we have the two entries on the top right, but then in this option, because of the nature of the mini ramp, we actually have a pretty interesting opportunity to enter the space. So coming off of Guelph Street, you're returned back, and then you have two approaches into the park. And that was kind of where we envisioned, you know, if we were to put a shade structure, that would be a good location for it, you know, down at that lowest elevation, looking into that mini ramp spine feature. But yeah, so if we go to the next slide, maybe give an opportunity just to get a sense of some of those features. Pretty good representation of these features. You know, a lot of obstacle street terrain features you'll likely be familiar with just with Gellert and Acton. But yeah, they're great for generating speed, for learning different tricks on, and yeah, they're represented well by those support imageries here. But yeah, just different feel, different style terrain. Really want to spark that discussion, so wanted to provide 3 different options, 3 different forms, really get a sense of where all of your heads are at and what you want to see in this next park. And I guess, yeah, with that, I think we're in a good place to move into the breakout rooms. If the
Wonderful,
schedule
yeah.
and agenda allows.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Stefan. That's excellent. So before we jump into the next part of our meeting, which is, I guess, looking forward to hearing your thoughts, I missed a couple acknowledgements on the way in. Want to acknowledge both youth centers. They're having viewing parties and viewing from both the Acton and Georgetown youth centers right now. As well, Mayor Bennett had some technical difficulties at the start, but he has joined us now. So yeah, we'd like to hear some words of greeting from Mayor Bennett.
Thank you very much, Mark. Can you hear me, Mark? Well, that's great. You can see we've had 3 exciting looking skateboard parks from Bill Gurney. So I think that's pretty exciting. So I'd like to say on behalf of all members of council, I'd like to welcome you to the skate park at Moldmaster SportsPlex virtual workshop. And thank you so much for all of you taking time out to join this evening. And I would also like to say that all members of council, I believe, are online, except for one councillor, Clark Somerville. He's in transit. I mean, if he's made it, I know he's going to try to make it. So what we're trying to do this evening is that we want our residents and youth in particular to have a say in the way that our community grows, and which is why we hold these workshops like this, so that we want everybody to have a say. In 2017, the town undertook an action sports needs assessment and confirmed the need for new action sports opportunities in Georgetown. This report identified the need for replacement of skateboard park at Moldmasters, as well as a need to construct a skateboard park at Gellert Community Park. In November of 2020, council approved the Recreation and Park Strategic Action Plan. This plan ensures that residents have access to active and healthy lifestyle choices, access to inclusive programs and facilities, increased community volunteer opportunities, and a better connection to nature. The development of the new skate park at Moldmaster SportsPlex is just one way in which we're implementing the strategic action plan by building youth-friendly communities and providing regular and convenient access to active living opportunities right here at home. Supporting our youth is supporting the next generation, and council made it very clear several years ago that youth services were a priority in Halton Hills. In recent years, we've opened 2 youth centers along with many other initiatives. And this is the newest skateboard park. It's just another step forward of our goal of supporting our youth in the future Halton Hills. This skateboard park at Moldmasters, I believe, is close to 30 years old. So I think we're in need of a whole new look. And the kids today are a lot more active and probably were 30 years ago. You're looking for new ideas, new technology so that you can have more fun. And I think it's really exciting that so many of you are here. Again, I apologize. I had real technical difficulties, but I want to thank everybody once again for taking time for coming here this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor Burnett. So with the information that New Line's presented, we really want to hear what you think about these concepts. So over the next 45 minutes, you'll be led through discussion on each of the concepts by New Line staff, and town staff will also be taking notes and sharing screens so that you can see the concepts to discuss. So I guess with that, you'll be divided up into separate rooms. And if you have any questions, so most people will be in the main room, but the youth centers are going to be separated out, so they'll have an opportunity to speak as well. But yeah, if you have any questions, use the Ask for Help button. And then, yeah, when we're finished, we'll automatically be moved back all into the same main room. All right. So Bill, if you'd like to start leading off with some discussion.
Absolutely, Mark. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. Didn't Stefan do a great job? So we're in the breakout room. I didn't even realize it was so seamless. Who's in here with us? Who are we chatting with in the breakout room? Other than myself and Mark, I see.
And you should have the ability to unmute yourselves now, or you can raise your hand if you'd like to speak.
So I don't have a window that shows me how many folks are here or who they are, or I guess this is the portion where they're allowed to unmute and allowed to speak. So folks, please feel free to do that. Unmute yourself and ask questions. And actually, I'm going to sort of spark the discussion just with a few simple questions. But maybe if you're just here in the room, you just want to say a quick hello and say your name, that would be great. I want to get a sense of how many are here.
Okay,
Hi, Bill.
I'll say hello.
Oh, there's Justin. Okay, good.
Sorry, my name's Justin. I live in Erin. This is looking pretty sweet. I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. Welcome, Justin. and myself and Mark.
Hey, Bill,
Okay.
it's Warren.
Oh, hi, Warren. There's a familiar face.
There's a face from the past. How are you?
Well, thanks. Welcome to the breakout room. And I can
Good to
see
see you.
Mayor Bonnet, and I can see, or I guess Meg was in facilitating, but maybe she jumped somewhere else. So I guess, Justin, I'm going to assume that you are a quote unquote active park user. Are you a skateboarder and or BMX rider and or scooter rider or any of the above?
Yeah, I'm a skateboarder, but just so you know, there's probably like 20 people in here. Just because you said that you couldn't see, there's 15 people in here or
Okay.
more.
I think
Yeah.
there's 17. I had trouble unmuting myself, Mayor Bonnet. So again, welcome everybody in this chat room, but I see participants are 17. So looks like you
Okay.
got a full room.
Okay. Well, I don't want people to be shy. I'm going to ask some questions and I'm hoping to get some answers. The whole point was to spurn some discussion. So I'd like to spend another couple minutes looking at each concept individually. If you guys have any questions that you're not quite clear what you're seeing or what the design intent, please feel free to ask those questions. But my questions are really basic and simple. I want to spend, a few dedicated minutes looking at each option individually. And I want to know what you see that you like. And just as importantly, I want to know what you see that you don't like. Just as importantly, we can spend a few minutes discussion on each concept. And then if you guys feel like picking a favorite, you can let us know. If it's easy to pick like a least favorite, we can talk about that just as easily. So let's start discussion on design direction number 1 and see if you guys, anybody out there has questions or, let me know something that you see that you like or something that you see that you don't like.
Maybe this is a bad question, but at the very bottom, like near B, what's that triangle there?
We are envisioning that as just basically a seating opportunity. Not necessarily a skatable feature, but like a place to sit down or put your knapsack or something like that. Like a seating opportunity. That's what we're envisioning.
I think this is a good option. There's a lot of variety for sure. This one would rank number 2 on my list. I would say this is like the second best one.
I'm kind of wondering if K, the bank, I guess, long slappy bank, like it's like, it looks like from your legend, it's like close to 15 meters long. I'm wondering if that's like maybe like so long it could be 2 different things maybe.
Yeah, definitely could be 2 smaller pieces instead of 1 super long feature.
Yeah, there's lots of variety you could do with that piece for sure.
Mm-hmm. Something to redirect off on the north end of the park is kind of the main purpose it's serving and as it's currently drawn.
Yeah, or depending on how low or high it is, you could maybe put like a bank to ledge, but bring the ends in on either side and make it like an upgap Manny feature across the top of it or something. So, and I guess that's a comment when you really look at all these features, you kind of, usually we design in with sort of rough intent to some of these things, but there's so many different varieties of manual pads or banks to curbs or banks to ledges or features that we could put in some of these locations. So any ideas or comments are good ones.
Is it fair to say that this layout right here is in similar footprint to what's currently there? Just to get a rough idea of size.
Yeah, it actually might be even, it's larger than the current concrete footprint.
Okay.
slightly larger.
I'm wondering also, like, I'm not it's kind of hard to visualize, but the G bank turnaround, like, I just feel like it's kind of hard to get there with speed, depending on how the K, the like end of the K thing works, or like how much space there is up there. But I'm almost just wondering, like, and one of the features you don't have in any of the things is a step up, and that there would be a wicked opportunity for a step up right there, I think, instead of the, but I don't know if I really know like how well I'm not experienced with the bank turnaround thing, I think.
Bill, it's probably safe to say it's more of like a drop-in kind of turn, like this particular street area here is probably going to skate and ride a little bit slower, you know, and more like, you know, hitting manual pads and flat bars, and there's some turnarounds. Whereas in the other concept where it's more, you know, dropping in, going down a bank, going over a fun box, turning around, like that's going to be more feel like a street course, where this one might skate or feel more like a plaza, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some pushing involved, especially if you're sort of going right to left and going up that G bank or up that H sort of bank to barrier. There's definitely some pushing. It look in the length of the design, moving right to left.
Which you could change if the idea, the comments that you had was, we kind of like the feel and the flow of a little more obstacle-y. And if you turn that K into two different pieces, maybe what you put on one side versus the other side, maybe one's a little more technical street skating style feature, and the other one might be more, you know, a fun box or a hip or something that can, you know, or something that can help you generate speed if you were to put an up gap or something where G is. So that's a great comment.
Yeah.
If you wanted it to skate more like, you like this option in this bowl, but you wanted the street course to skate more like a street course instead of a technical street skating space or plaza, that's possible too. It just depends on how you mix up the obstacles.
What
Like,
do you guys
based
think
on
about the bowl in this one?
It's kind of a big bowl. Pretty sweet.
Yep, 4.5 and 6. The drainage opportunity on site isn't going to let us go much deeper than that. That's why we're showing it built up 2.5 and then 3.5 down. 6 feet deep is about as deep as we can possibly get, just given the drainage opportunity on site. But yeah, what do you guys think of this bowl in this design? I shouldn't say guys. What do you people think?
I think it's a really good option. It's a cool shape. Definitely a cool feature. I think the benefit to this bowl over the second park layout is you can imagine there'd only be one person skating in there at a time. So there'd be a bit of a lineup waiting to skate for the second park option. So this kind of spreads things out and there's more variety.
Yep. Which is interesting because that's the nature of design too. There's really the emphasis on the bowl, and like you noted, bowls are most of the time they're one person at a time using a bowl. So we're conscious of that as well.
I almost want to say that, like, since the second bowl like has so many features in it, and this bowl doesn't have really any features, like, but it's kind of hard to imagine how big it is, but I feel like maybe it's big enough for like some feature in there, especially along the like northwest section. But just because that's probably like 12 meters across is pretty big, I think. But I don't know, that's just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
You have any thoughts on features? So you thinking like an extension or like a little set of pool stairs or a Any thoughts on little toys or features?
How about a length of diamond grind coping on the long back wall? I like the look of the hips in this bowl. That looks cool in this bowl layout.
All right.
Mark-
We can jump around too if
Yeah.
you want to move to the other concepts.
I want to make sure we at least spend enough time in those other two. We can always come back, but I would hate to get cut short. We
Yep.
only have, is it 15 minutes in the room? Is there a clock ticking on us? Or are we going to get ejected from this room and pulled back into the main room?
Yeah, we're good so far. But yeah, we
Okay.
can move on to the
We
next.
won't be being pulled out of this room. We are technically the unassigned room, so everybody will be being pulled back to us.
Okay,
All right?
gotcha. We're the hub.
Exactly.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, curious for some feedback on this design. This is the one that, as Stefan said, really puts the highest priority on the transition terrain and lower priority on the street features. So really curious to see some feedback, what you see that you like, what you see that you don't like, or just sort of overall impression on this design option.
The bikers would be stoked with this one.
Agree. What?
Yeah, again, what I see as the real downside to this one is that there would be like maximum 2 people skating in there, if that. So it just seems like there would be like a bit of a lineup, a bit of like too much waiting time just to skate.
Yeah, this one could probably handle the least amount of volume at any given time out of the 3 options for sure.
For a crowded, busy day at the park, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The flat rail section is a bit of a bottleneck. Where like I can imagine people just like traveling through there. I would just suggest that to be wider.
Yeah, good comment. I mean, I'm sure that it's been laid out that with at least 8 feet on either side, but you can tell that it's definitely the narrowest point. So it's, you know, it is compromised by that, but you're right. So the thinnest of all features is pretty much a flat rail. And if it fits right in the middle, it's like 8 feet on either side, but you're right. It's really the nature of the design and how it gets skinny through there.
It kind of looks like not a lot of people would go over there though. You'd be hitting the rail, like, but nobody's gonna like want to fly at M, right? Unless I don't really understand fully what M is there, but it looks kind of like a little manual wall thing.
Yeah, it would be like likely some kind of transition turnaround. It would just
There's
kind of
the
rise up
M
and rise down, so it would be highest in the middle and kind of tapering out in height as it goes out to the corners. So you get sort of the peak height of it right in the middle of the curve.
It's probably more like a small tight transition that you could almost like session on its own, as opposed to something you're getting a ton of speed for, so to speak.
Because you're right, there's probably not like a lot of high volume, high speed skateboard traffic, but at the same time, it is a place where people are, you know, coming in and coming out of the park at the same time, you know.
You know, it almost seems like if it was wider, like he'd be asking for something else in there. Like you could almost fit a little street, like a bit more street stuff in there if it was wider. Like I know that means it's a bit more expensive, but I think that like it seems like a lot of flat with just a rail around it that like you don't need to fly through. I don't know.
It's good feedback.
I'm not sure if everybody could hear me, but thank you guys very much for building these parks and for taking our advice or our feedback. And I just wanted to say that I skateboard at Gellert a few times a week at least. And park number 1 and park number 3, I think would be better for everybody, just because this park looks fantastic if you're on your own, but everybody knows that there's lots of people at these parks, and I'm not sure if it could handle a lot of people at the same time riding it.
I do agree with that. This would be my least favorite option of the 3.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and thanks for presenting in such a constructive way.
No problem, buddy.
It's true, just in terms of capacity and how many skaters or bikers can ride at any given moment.
Yeah, you definitely probably wouldn't want to park like this if this was the only park in the community. The reason we brought this option forward is because we know that there are some other parks in the community, so it might be an addition, good addition to the network. But you guys nailed it completely. Like the total number of skaters at at one time is less, and that's why in this one the street area is probably more people playing games of skate, just sessioning a ledge, sessioning a flat bar, nothing too crazy. Like the street option in this is more like skating at a spot, I guess. And then you got a pretty expansive bowl unit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And also to complement the other skateboarder, I forgot his name, but he's from Aaron, how he said that that the spot around L, the flat bar, I'm not sure if we can, if it's in the budget, but if we could maybe expand that space to just like you said, add more features, because we're already going through, the budget, the permits, the construction, make it, I don't know, just a tiny bit bigger, since we can't get rid of the trees, then, you know what I mean? Like the Gellert Park is fantastic. It's huge. The Acton Park is fantastic. It's huge. This one is really, really nice. But if we're already going through all the work and all the money, then if it's possible just to make it bigger, because Georgetown is growing, the surrounding areas are growing, population increases, more people are going to be using this park. So that's just kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I wonder, Bill, if it makes sense to just move to option number, like if everyone's kind of, naturally just gravitating towards, option 1 and 3, maybe take a look at 3 and not spend a ton of time.
Yeah.
Because really the difference between 1 and 3 in a nutshell is, do you want a self-contained bowl, or do you like a mini ramp, mini ramp with a spine sort of option? Because you got other bowls in the community. So maybe if we focus a little more on, comparing 1 versus 3 and not spending too much time on 2, if everyone's naturally gravitating towards the bread instead of the meat of the sandwich, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the street part in this one is so much better, like way better. And the only thing that I'm questioning about this one is just like if the I and H section are like something like 12 meters across, like I just don't know if all 3 of those need to be ramps, really. Like maybe one of the middle thing could be stairs or something, and just kind of switch it up there. Also, maybe where C is, that could also be like just kind of like it's like a really big quarter, like really wide quarter, which is cool. Like you could also maybe put something between D and C kind of in there, but it's only 2 feet, so I don't know. Or 3 feet there.
3 feet. Yeah, and it's a fair point, because usually when we're at this sort of design direction phase, because the next phase we'll get more into design, and so less is more usually, because it's always easier to add things than to sort of crowd it and take things away. But those are great comments. Easy to switch it up, and between I and H, kind of mix up what that drop interface looks like and what those features look like, and maybe add 1 or 2 more things, or an up gap or something, for sure.
Yeah, somebody earlier mentioned a step up, and I could see that fitting into this design quite easily.
What are your guys' thoughts on the sort of mini ramp, spine ramp versus a bowl?
My opinion, this is the best option. It's really like the best of both worlds here.
Is that, I guess, shared with others as your preferred option, or we're
Definitely.
trying to?
Could you slide over a bit so I can see the legend on the left again?
Yep.
Which one are you questioning?
You can see it now there, fine.
What the K?
Sorry, I missed that last part, the preferred option. Are we talking about is this whole skate park the preferred option? Because if that's what we're talking about, then it definitely is mine, but I don't know if I speak for anybody else.
Yeah,
No, I definitely gravitate more towards this third option. I mean, with Acton Skate Park so close and Gellert all having lots of bowl features, it's nice to see some more transition features. The only thing that I see here in this design is that at the peak of where the C is at the looks like the 7-foot mark could be a little congested depending on the size, just in transitioning from one line of the skate park to the next, but otherwise it looks good.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Corey, because that's where a lot of people will be standing and starting and transitioning back and forth and stuff like that. So sometimes having no feature there might be just as good if you have a bunch of people standing there.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, like a 2-foot quarter, I just don't know. I don't know how to use it there, but like maybe if it was rotated onto the other side of it instead of at the end, I don't know. And just like the way that it steps down in the street part, I almost wonder if the street part on the far right, like extended through there, and some different things happened with the where the C, D, and H and I, like, because it looks like the far right section, it would be really sweet. And I just don't know about the J right next to the ramp. Like the J is sweet, and but the ramp with the I and the H is kind of weird.
are you talking about like the features themselves or the spacing or the angles, or what do you mean?
Like the 2-foot ramp, it's hard to like do anything on a 2-foot ramp. Like the hubba and the stairs are wicked, but I guess I'm just coming back to it should be stairs, I guess. I don't know, just 2-foot ramp like all the way across. I don't know if that'll really be used.
Well, the ramp is kind of set up so you can hit the flat rail on top of that space.
Right.
Yeah, so if you turn one of those to stairs, that eliminates like the front side and back side option.
Right.
On that section. I do like the idea of adding stairs though. It would be pretty small, but if you added it just to the next level up where there's the C and the D. Yeah, at least that adds it in there.
Yeah,
Let's take away from some of the lines if we add stairs, but we could maybe find an ideal spot.
And then you could get like a double drop in a row where you sort of like do a trick down the first drop and then you do a trick down the hub or the rail or something like that. So we might be able to maybe on the outside, like you said, where D is, but also on, the IH line there, maybe on the outside, there could be almost like a mini Carlsbad gap or like a grass gap or something on the outside. So that you could just gap over and gap down.
If you look closely, there is a secret gap between the stair spine mini and the elevated 2-foot where they meet, that grass gap in between.
Yeah.
Where's that? Sorry, so I can draw it.
He's talking about between the 2-foot and the 1-foot on either side of C.
Yeah, if you ollied off the deck where it says +2 and landed on the flat bottom where it says +1, there's like a secret grass gap in there.
You got that
Oh,
right?
gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this the bottom half of the street course would skate almost like a mini I hate to say like street league course, you kind of like drop in, you go down something, you go over something, you turn around, you come back, you go over something, you come back up, and then you kind of keep going back and forth, hitting stuff along the way. Whereas the top of that line is more, that's your technical, that's your flat bar, that's your flat ledge. That's a lot more sort of, longer space and stuff like that. And they work together quite well depending on how exactly we detailed Jay.
I have one question from B to B, from the existing sidewalk to the existing walkway there. Around that existing tree, is there any way maybe you could put in like a pump track or something? I don't know, something along those lines, maybe, if that's even an option, or just to add something.
Definitely something we talked about. It's probably going to be a budget constraint more than anything else, but yeah,
that makes sense.
you need to have something where you kind of float out of the mini ramp and kind of could hit a couple bumps and corners around there and come back into the street course for sure.
Yeah, even like from M to the B.
Great comment.
One thing that comes up a lot at the Gellert, we play a lot of games of skate, and you can't really play anywhere without being in the way of a certain obstacle. If there was like maybe that B and B section, if that was just if the grass in between was just flat ground as well, that kind of designates like a little game of skate area, a little flat ground.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a sweet idea.
I've noticed option 3 is getting most of the love. Is that the preferred concept so far?
For sure.
Yes.
Wow.
At least four people have endorsed that notion. Yes.
Nice.
I'll add another check mark.
Just as the old guy in the room, I like this park, and I can see why everybody that's their pick. But looking for a slappy curb. So they were talking about that flat ground area. I don't know if we can add a slappy curb. A lot of people that I skate with, we're always looking for a slappy curb. So if we can add one somewhere, that'd be great. I don't want to get in all the young kids' way because I can't ollie on those ledges anymore.
Maybe just next to K.
Yeah, we could definitely look at shortening K and adding a slappy curb on that edge.
The one thing I like about the Molemaster Park that's there is they have a little podium. So if I don't know if people would like it, but if K was kind of like a podium style, so that you could have multiple sized ledges at the same time, and then it's kind of a mani pad feature as well.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Farrell Reed, you have your hand up.
I do. Thanks, Mark. I know we're talking about this design, but can I ask a general question? How many participants can use each design at once? Like, what would be the maximum amount of people that could use this design?
Probably like 8 is my guess.
I believe this design optimizes how many people, like this would be the most people skating at the same time compared to the other designs.
Yeah, sometimes hard to break down an exact number because, like, this is probably the most sort of lines that could work together and people skating at one time. But usually, most people's runs might be 45 seconds, a minute, or you might just be working on one trick. So it is probably best to compare the 3 together in terms of which ones could handle the most volumes of people sort of riding at once, which gives you an indication of, sort of peak times, which one's going to be the most comfortable.
Okay.
And this is probably the most, followed by number 1 being the second, and number 2, by far being the third.
Can I just get like a sense of what's underneath A? Like, is that also like a flat spot with like a post in the middle and then like a 4-meter gap of grass into where the bump is, because maybe that could be shortened and then just be like another like little cool gap or something, just because that spot, I don't know how to use that.
You know what's interesting about that is never specifically designed or intended as a skatable area. We were trying to create 3 unique looking options and find a place for a shade structure within each option. You know, arguably the shade structure is a little bit more integrated in the first and second design option, but this one, you know, looking at all the different levels that you could sort of interface with the skate park, and then looking at the mini ramp complex, the spine mini ramp complex, even with that at 2 different levels, it just made sense, or it seemed to make sense to create it as a little bit of a broken off area, or an area that was broken off unto itself, mostly just as a shade structure and some benches, not necessarily skatable terrain, but it is, you know, broken off from the terrain, probably more so than in the other design options. And because it's at 2 different levels, the planting area seemed to be a good idea, just to break it up and create that separation.
But not that we couldn't consider maybe moving it more towards the entry if that was a desire to have a flat space, game of skate space, some seating, entry. So it's like we could look at maybe, you know, could that shade structure and that square footage be put somewhere that can be a little more multi-purpose? So that's something we could definitely explore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to be a stickler for details, but you know, Mark at the town and us managing, we're definitely looking at putting our current budget towards the terrain itself. And you know, Mark is going to work some magic on his end to find additional budget for the shade structure. So it's not even necessary. The shade structure isn't necessarily like 100% included piece at this point in time as well.
Yeah, our focus is certainly skatable elements and not spending a lot of money on extra extravagance that isn't kind of skate value. So yeah, obviously we want to maximize the amount of usable features and for the skate park. Not spend it on I don't know what, a gold plated rail or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what happened in Gellert, right? The main focus of the skate park design build budget was building the skate, and then Mark, you made some magic happen through your end to create that shade structure and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate that shade structure in the summer. Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Precedent has been set.
But with the mature trees, I don't think you really need a shade structure. People can find shade in that area. Whereas the new development areas, they have just little tiny trees. So if you're keeping the trees, I don't think a shade structure is really needed.
You know, that is an interesting point. There's some very mature pine or spruce, Mark, on the site, pine?
I think that spruce.
Okay. And there's that grassy knoll, which is a nice, like, natural spectator area and shaded area. Which is also a good point.
Yeah, one thing that came up in our breakout room was just the fact that it's next to the building. The building's white, so it's actually likely going to create a bit more of a heat island than a normal site would. And so a shade structure might be more warranted here, just because in addition to those trees, you know, we're also a southern frontage. So shade is probably going to be higher in demand. Then and might not just be accommodated by the 5 existing trees on site or whatever.
Yeah, there was talk of a landscape buffer between the building and the park to maybe collect the water and also ease the reflective nature of the building.
So Mark, how do we want to go from here? Do we want to do the sort of the summary statement on each of the breakout rooms? Is that what we're going to do next in the agenda?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
No, I was gonna say, sorry, we just had a couple minutes left in the breakout room. So whenever you guys are ready to move on to that next part, feel free. No one's come back in anymore. We've gathered everybody together.
Excellent. Yeah, and I guess if anyone has any other comments on, on any of the locations, we'd certainly like to try and capture those now.
Oh, yeah. The one thing I would add on this design for the M feature, I'm not sure how large the standing area there is, but I would just suggest to make it wide enough so you can still skate into the bank and like do tricks into the bank, and also that would be like I can imagine people standing up there waiting to take their run. That's definitely what happens at Gellert, where that and the opposite side on the sea, which I think was already mentioned, they get congested pretty easily. But this one especially, it would be cool to just have a little bit of run up to be able to skate into the bank. That's what
Great comment.
And any of the other two breakout rooms have any clear winners in terms of the three designs that everyone was in the room was gravitating towards?
Our breakout room was leaning towards 1 and 3, but where you have to wait for the Georgetown Youth Center feedback. They were contributing to it on their own, and so we're waiting to see their post-it boards coming through. But earlier they had some youth in, and they were leaning towards 1 and 3. It's their preferred.
Yeah, they told us that about 55 youth had come through tonight and sort of at varying times of the night, and about 20 of them were skateboarders or users that would use the park. So they have a whole pile of information that they're going to pass on to us. We didn't go through it, kind of make them go through every post-it that had been posted.
It's really great to get so much interest and feedback.
I'm guessing this option is probably, in terms of budget, is probably the highest.
All designs should be considered equal from a budget standpoint.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's good. I was just thinking, what would you sacrifice? Like, obviously everybody likes the park, but if it came in over budget with the city, how could we get obviously the street portion that everybody seems to like and sacrifice on that spine? Like, do we just eliminate the spine and bring, I guess I can't really see them on my phone, C and G into the spine location? Because it sounds like everybody wants the street section. And there hasn't been too much talk about the spine. But I think with just a standard mini with the extension, I think people would be happy with it if you had to sacrifice something.
Yeah, I think echoing Bill's comments there, the beauty is that this is a design build contract, similar to some of the other projects we've done in the community. So we're showing concepts that we're pretty comfortable we're going to be able to build. So I don't think we have to make major sacrifices. It might just be decisions over details and little decisions on features and stuff like that. But as Bill alluded to, we're pretty confident we're showing 3 concepts that could get built, regardless of which ones that you guys pick.
Perfect.
I think to that point, if the priority from this discussion was primarily on street, we could add to the street course in favor of eliminating the spine. If that's not a priority, there's that opportunity as well. We're losing something, but we're gaining it somewhere else because they're all coming in on budget or for the same budget.
I don't know if this was mentioned, but can you give me a sense of how tall the spine is?
It would likely be similar to the transition profiles on either side. So 4 feet, probably match. The spine itself would be 4 feet, and then the pump rollers would probably be 2.
Yeah, the way we have it designed is that one side of the flat is slightly lower than the other. So it'd be like 4 foot on one side, 4.5 on the other side, and then an extension and some lower pump bumps beside the spine.
Hey, Justin, I think we missed what you said. You were muted. If you want to repeat.
I was just asking how tall the spine is.
Yeah, I saw you like talking after Stefan's answer, so I was just wondering if we missed something.
Good.
Is it 3.5 on the other, or would it be 4.5?
4.5.
Cool.
That would definitely be, I don't like it. That's pretty advanced. 4.5 feet spine, like sounds kind of like pretty hard.
I think it might be similar to water down, if you've ever been there.
It's probably
that's the beauty too, if you
height as
wanted
the
to-
spine at Gellert.
Was that
If you wanted to skate more like a mini ramp, you could easily just raise the flat bottoms up a bit, and it could be 3.5 and 4, or it could, yeah. That just depends on how we detail it. If you want it to skate a lot more like just a super fun little mini ramp.
Yeah, you could also mellow out the radius of the spine itself. Might start to feel a little bit smaller as well.
We could even think about reorienting the long edge in the direction of the skate traffic as well. Put the coping along two edges and change the direction of movement through the mini ramp if it wasn't spined. Play with that.
As a random idea, like possibly if the spine was just not all the way across, I don't really know, like I'm not experienced with using a spine, to be honest, but if there was something else in the middle, like that you would get hit from going down the one quarter and then hit across to the other quarter, like a gap, or like maybe even a rainbow rail would be the coolest thing ever, but I don't know.
Yeah, what we're currently showing there is F as the spine in the middle, and then E on either side are like roller bumps that would easily let you pass through without having to navigate the spine.
Maybe a little, I like that idea though. Maybe if one was a little wider than the other one, you had a little ride-on slappy curve that went over top of it, or ride-on, like you said, a little rail or something. Just to mix it up.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the width that we have. I think we're probably looking at 12 feet right now, so could shorten that up.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys follow much of what's going on in Vancouver these days, but the coalition just put on their all aboard event, and they put one on, I guess it was 2 years ago now, and they got it's called the Green Ramp. And it's just a little mini ramp spine that was built a few years ago, and it gets moved around to different events. So if you get a chance to check that out on Instagram or see footage, it's been very well used and loved by everybody. And it's just a little, I think that one's about 3.5 feet tall, but it's a little 3.5 foot tall spine with rollers and a little extension, and it's getting a lot of love right now.
Speaking of a lot of love, I find it interesting that most of the discussion seems to be centered around this design direction.
Yeah, I think, well, safe to say that a number of the people providing feedback said that this was their favorite. Cool. So yeah, I guess any more comments at all from anybody on any of the concepts right now? And then yeah, if not, we can kind of move into the next portion of our discussion.
Just as another idea, where I and H are, if we could like compress that just a bit? Because I'm imagining a lot of space between each of those. And then maybe that would give you space for stairs or a step up on the other side of it. But I keep forgetting it's only 2 feet up. But stairs 2 feet up could be nice if you shifted both of those just down a little bit and then put stairs over past H.
Yeah, so you'd be looking at roughly like a 4 set or a 5 set, depending on how you detail the stairs there. So it'd be nice set of stairs.
And before we had mentioned between D and C up there also, like C is a really like 11 feet of quarter there. You could like, I like the roll in, but you could put instead of a roll in or just between the roll in and C, you could put a step up or potentially a big stair set there. I think that would be a minor upgrade for sure.
Wonderful. Any more comments at all, or okay, we will carry on then. So let me just swap screens back. So Megan, everyone's back in this one room now?
Yeah, everyone is back and you are good to go.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you. I just continued to, I guess my smile continued to grow throughout that as people really got into the discussion. So yeah, no, thank you very, very much. It's always wonderful to hear it in person versus, yeah, reading it through online feedback and things like that. So yeah, from our standpoint, I guess our takeaway is that the consensus pick was kind of number 3 there, from what I've heard. Yeah, Stefan, did you have any other feedback or info from the group that you were with?
Just that option 1 and 3 seemed to be the preferred directions from Georgetown Youth Center. But a lot of what we were talking about, I think, has been captured. I think a lot of the feedback was coming from the counselors, just asking about accessibility, shade, seating, and general amenities, not specifically to any of the features themselves. I think what we will wait on is the feedback that we received from the youth center that they have in person, that they said they would send out, either probably sometime tomorrow. I think they're closed now for the evening. So
nice. Yeah, and I'll discuss, I guess, next steps shortly. Did anyone else have any questions at all through the evening tonight? Or were you able to answer them all? Please feel free to raise your hand or put a question in the chat if you have any. And so alternately as well, you can send me an email direct if you don't want to share your question tonight, or if you have a question later on. So my email is shown there, marktaylor@haltonhills.ca. And then, yeah, we also have this information and a survey posted on the Let's Talk Halton Hills page. I received a number of emails from people just saying that they weren't able to attend tonight, but they're looking forward to participating. So we have basically the concepts and some similar questions, just of what features do you like, don't like, which concept is your preference. So that'll be open to the public to comment on until December the 1st. So yeah, any questions at all, anybody? Please feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. Patrick, you have your hand up.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you guys very much. I just wanted to say thank you to the town of Halton Hills and to the counselors and to the designers to New Line Skate Park for just joining up and contracting them. Just because I've been around to, I build homes and everything, and I do a lot of construction, and I've been around to a lot of different cities, and I see their different designs for skate parks, and the ones that New Line builds seem to be the best ones, and they're just really accessible for everybody, for beginners, intermediate, and for advanced skateboarders and BMX riders and everything. And also, if just to reiterate on what I said in the breakout room, if we're going to all the work and energy and money and permits to build a new skateboard park, which I think is fantastic, then just to expand the third one a little bit more, just to give it a little bit more of a footprint, just so that more kids and more adults, more everybody could use it at the same time. Just to put in like a bit of a flat ground, just, you know what I mean? Just a little bit more flat areas. Anyways, thank you guys very much.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for the comments.
Thanks for the kind words, Patrick.
I guess last chance for anyone that may have another question. All right. So the next steps, what's happening from here? So as I mentioned, the information from tonight and a survey with all the concepts will be posted on the Let's Talk Halton Hills page. That is actually live now. Town staff and New Line will be taking that feedback along with all the feedback gathered tonight, and basically combining that to really figure out what is the focus. So 3 design directions were presented. So once we take all that feedback, figuring out which direction are we going to go, and then how do we incorporate and refine the design for all the other items that you're looking for that we've heard through the feedback. That'll basically put together a final concept. So we've already scheduled a date for that meeting, January the 19th. We hope that you can join us again, and we'll be presenting that final concept and looking for feedback. After the concept is finalized, we'll have another time to gain feedback, say for another week on Let's Talk Halton Hills. Through the winter, that'll get turned into construction drawings, and then basically preparing us for construction as soon as the weather permits in the spring. This is a design build contract with New Line, so their crews will be constructing the skate park, and this is basically their first project of the year for 2022, which will allow us to have it built basically as soon as possible, with the hope to get skating on it in summer of next year. So yeah, that concludes our workshop. I'd certainly like to thank you very, very much for your attention and continued participation in this project. And yeah, please feel free to contact us or visit the project homepage to stay up to date with information. Yeah, thank you very, very much.
Looks like Mayor Burnett.
Oh, yes. Mayor Burnett, you have your hand up.
Might be muted.
Might just be a technical.
There we go. Yeah. I'm having a heck of a day today. I just want to thank again everybody that came out today, and I'd like to thank the counselors that came out on very busy night, and I really enjoyed the discussion. Haven't ever at my age been on a skateboard in my life, but I just enjoyed hearing the discussion we had a lot of great comments and try to build the skate park together. So I just want to thank all the participants. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yep. Thank you very much.